Okay, now that I've shown you how to sharpen the blade, if you've watched the other video, now I'm going to show you how to reassemble it. But before I do that, this is the oil stone that you've just used to sharpen it. It still has the oil on it, so if I was you, just leave the oil on it. It'll soak into the stone. It'll make the stone nice and supple when you come to use it again in the future. There's no point in cleaning it off. It's not going to do anything, it's just going to stay on the stone, so it's not a problem. If I was you, just leave it. Don't clean it, just leave it. So the oil stone, put it in a box. As I say, keep it in a box. The reason why I keep it in a box, A, if you've got oil on it, it stops all your tools getting oily. Not that that's a problem, because it protects them from rust a little bit, but it just stops things getting a bit dirty. And then the other issue is that one of these boxes stops your stone from getting chipped. As I was saying earlier, if your stone gets scalped out either way, it's not going to be much use to you. But it also, if it's banging around with other metal tools, you're going to chip it, even if it's just small chips, but that will affect your use of the stone, the enjoyment of the stone, if there can be such a thing, to be honest. So, but there is. I mean, it's quite therapeutic, sharpening a tool and bringing it up to a nice sharp edge, but you need to do it on something that you respect. You respect this as much as you respect any of your tools. So once you've finished, put the stone lid back on. That's it. It lives like that, no elastic band in this case, and that should be fine for future use. Oh, with an oil stone, if you buy a cheap one, as I say, they turn to dust. You'll know when you buy a cheap one, because as soon as you sharpen the tool, there'll be like a dust. It will kick up parts of the stone, which just turns into a sandpaper, really. You usually get them with cheap toolkits. You know, when you used to be at, well, you can go online and probably buy an entire toolkit for, I don't know, £100 for 100 tools, chisels, planes, saws, set squares. Don't bother. They'll all be rubbish. They'll be cheaply made with cheap steel. You can tell a cheap steel. It's really soft. It has, I think, a low carbon content. How do you test the steel in a tool? This is going to sound really horrible, but your teeth are the best way of testing for steel. If you get a steel that's soft, it sounds dull on your teeth. If you get a steel that's nice, then it has a slightly higher ring on your teeth. What you don't do is you don't start smashing away at your teeth with metal just to see if chips of tooth come off. What you do is you simply just butt it up against the bottom of your tooth. Like that, okay? I'm just going to do this close up. There. Now that, just that little sound will tell you if it's good steel or not. If it's bad steel, as you can hear, that one was high pitched. If it's bad steel, it'll have a lower pitch. In fact, if you've got a kitchen knife that's always losing its edge, then it's probably because it's got bad steel. So what you need to do is get that knife and just tap it on your tooth. You'll hear it's different. It just sounds soft. The reason why you tap it on your enamel is because your enamel is hard as nails, diamond almost, or a bit of an exaggeration there too. But your enamel is so hard. In fact, if you ever want to find out if anything's made of metal or plastic, tap it on your tooth. It's a great indicator. Anyway, that's how you test decent steel. Putting it back in the plane. So there's the plane. Just doing. Oh, the cutter nut. This thing here is attached to this piece of metal, which comes out through here. Okay, so that's what adjusts the height of your blade, and that sits in your cap iron in that little groove there. Okay, so your cap iron will go like that into your plane. I've got to put the blade on this yet, and then that will sit. I can just find it myself. There we are. Right, and it sits in there basically. Alright. Now, when the blade is being pushed out, this part of the metal will be touching the front of this, because of course the force needs to go that way, so it needs to touch the metal on this side to force the metal that way. That is how it forces it out. So when you put the plane together, make sure that it's touching on this edge. Alright, just to save you time on the cutter nut, really, otherwise you'll be there for ages winding it in or out to get the plane the way you want. So just when you put it in, just make sure that you pull the blade upwards so that the metal's touching on this side. Alright. It's not imperative, but again, trial and error, you'll learn it. cap iron, blade. This is a straight side of your blade. This is the level side, should I say. This is your chamfered side here. So you want your chamfered side on this side and your straight part up against there, alright? So when you put it together, you put it together like this and you draw that round until your cap iron's level with it. I've seen people just put the blade in like that and ram it up. What you end up doing is you end up bashing this edge against this edge, metal against metal. It's just going to kill your sharp edge almost instantly. You'll be surprised how much difference that'll make. So when you put it in at an angle, alright, and then draw it round, and then you bring it back until it's almost near the edge. Then what you do is you finger tighten this one up just a little bit so that you've still got a little bit of play on there. And then what you want to do is you want to draw it up until there's about 1 millimeter, 2 millimeters maybe each side. Okay, as you can see that this cap iron is square. So if you're ever sharpening a blade, if you want to know if it's square or not, use the cap iron as your indicator as to how square your blade is, or how much bad habit you've got on leaning one way or the other. You tend to be heavier with your hand on one side or the other. You have to learn to compensate. I certainly am. I can see this one's a little bit unsquare, but it's not so bad that it affects anything. So you push that up until it's in my case, that's where I prefer it, right there. Okay, so I do the screw up till it's finger tight. Right, no more adjustments is needed on that one. Let's just square that iron cap so it's flush on either side now. Okay, and that's it. And then I get this lever cap, I put that in there and I just tighten that up so it's pretty tight. I don't overdo it. I don't tighten it up so tight that, I mean, what's the point? To be honest with you, metal against metal causes quite a good solid frictionless edge that it's really hard to move metal against metal anyway. So you do that up just tight enough to make sure that it stays in place, but not so tight. You don't need to do it up so that your arms are hurting. And that's it then, that's ready to go back in the plane. Plane, again, you don't want to butt your, you don't want to hit your sharp edge. That's the flat side, by the way. You see the curve here. As I said earlier, I think the curve goes up against the flat side of the blade. Get your plane and you slide it in, making sure that you don't hit your nice sharp edge up against all the metal in here. Again, be really careful. Try and get it so that you've almost got it near the mouth before you actually insert it. Okay, I'm going to look while I do this so that I don't bash it. There we are. And then what I'm doing now is I'm trying to locate this little bit here so that it's in there. Now, if you're going to put it in so the plane's this way, because that will automatically force the blade to drop up against this metal peg here, alright, to attach to your cutter nut, alright, and that tells you that really, once you do that cutter nut up, that's instantly starting to push your blade out the mouth of your plane. You're not messing around wondering where it is. Once you've done that, put your lever cap back on. Now, in the meantime, this screw's done up, so I'm just going to undo that a little bit. There. See, it's very loose now. I don't want it that loose. I'll just do that finger tight up. It's just a smidgen still loose. Right, turn that about 1 millimeter, maybe 2. Hardly anything, but that will make a vast difference on how much pressure there. That's what you want. You want it slightly solid. Make sure it's pushed down all the way that way, so you pull it out, you push it in, alright, and then pull that down, and that's it. Okay, that should be pretty much all ready, loaded and ready to go. Now, finding where your blade is, hold the plane, hold it towards you and scoop your hand towards you. You don't really want to do it the other way, because if the blade's sticking out when you've loaded it, you're just going to take a shaving the skin off, and quite honestly that'll blunt your blade, and you don't really want to do that. I'm joking, it will also take your skin off. It'll hurt like hell. So hold it up, smooth the thing, and try and get some light so that it's playing on the foot. And then what you do, or sole should I say, and then what you do is you adjust it so that you can just about see the blade coming out through. I can just about see it now. And that's it. Wipe it towards yourself, and then that lets you know that it's not dust that you're looking at, it is truly the steel of your blade that's coming out. And that's it. I don't know if you can see that on there, but you might be able to just see the blade sticking out. The reason why I leave a curve on it is, like I said, when I plane, that curve tends to slice better, whereas if it's a square edge and it comes out, I tend to have to take off all of the wood, or I have to use the lever here to angle it so that I'm only exposing a small part of the blade. When you put the blade in, you want your tilt lever in the center. That's also a good indicator if you've got any bad habits, that if that blade is to the side like that, but the blade is still coming out square, then you know you've been heavy-handed and your blade is angled, so you're having to compensate using that tilt lever. That's what it's there for, but try not to get into those bad habits where you use your tilt lever, because the angle, the force hits the blade, and then that forces this metal to force that blade over. So really what you want to do is you want to try and sharpen the blade so that your tilt blade's always, tilt lever is always in the center. Alright, and that means that the energy is dissipated directly onto the steel, not at an angle. So it doesn't cause that much of a problem, but it's problem enough. It just looks funny as well when you're using it, having that tilt lever to the side. It just makes you feel like you're not lined up with anything properly, to be honest with you. So that's it really, that's ready to go. Good, done and dusted. Hope that's helped. If you've got any questions, if I've managed to activate the comments on this, then please leave them. I will hear, I'm sure, a few people telling me that you don't do it that way. It's entirely up to you how you do it. I'm probably going to argue with them a little bit, but that's just my personal preferences. The thing about tools is that they become personal to you. You use them in your own personal way, so therefore you must maintain them to a degree that is personal to you, that you understand. There is no standard way. There's a few basic principles, you keep to them, but apart from that, you really learn that each tool has its own individual personality. So always treat them with care, always buy quality, and you should be okay, to be honest with you. Right, hope that helps. Okay, take care. Cheers. Bye.